Hi everyone, my name is Mbalenhle Mwase and I'm a final year law student at Great Zimbabwe University. This video attempts to dwell on the issues surrounding competition and economic development. In particular, this video addresses, firstly, the impact of competition on economic development, and secondly, the factors that can augment or impede competition and competitiveness. Thirdly, how challenges to competition can be remedied, and lastly, this video looks at some of the empirical research studies that have been done on the subject as well as the findings. Broadly defined, competition policy refers to government policy to preserve or promote competition among market players. Competition policy has two major instruments. Firstly, competition law, which contains rules to restrict anti-competitive market conduct, as well as an enforcement mechanism such as an authority. The second major instrument is competition advocacy. Economic development refers to an economy's well-being, including employment growth, literacy, mortality rates, and other measures of quality of life. Zimbabwe's competition law is enshrined in the Competition Act of 1996. The institution responsible for the administration and enforcement of competition policy was established in the year 1998. And in 2000, the government of Zimbabwe merged the Industry and Trade Competition Commission and the Tariff Commission. The new commission was named the Competition and Tariff Commission. And to facilitate the merger of the two commissions, a new Competition Act was promulgated and became effective on the 1st of June 2002. The Competition and Tariff Commission of Zimbabwe's mandate can be gleaned from the charges leveled against the Zisco Medical Benefits Society. The Commission reached the conclusion that the society had engaged in anti-competitive practices in the course of conducting business in the Kwekwe-Redcliffe areas. The Commission ordered the society not to direct its members to use community pharmacies owned by Juniper Pharmaceuticals or any other particular or specific pharmacy as a condition for membership. The society was also ordered to amend its rules by deleting the restrictive provisions that made it compulsory for all employees of the Zimbabwe Iron and Steel Company and its associate companies to join the society. Is there empirical evidence that competition policy promotes economic growth? The impact of competition on innovation and economic growth has largely been explored empirically. Firstly, Dutz and Hyrie in their study concluded that the effect of competition policy on economic development was robust. Secondly, Bisan and Changfa Law showed that the implementation of the free trade law in Taiwan would significantly enhance Taiwan's international competitiveness and its exports. Thirdly, Kairara tested the influence of competition policy in Tanzanian manufacturing enterprises and further concluded that a positive relationship between competition policy and productivity exists. Lastly, while analyzing the data of 22 different sectors of 12 European Community countries within the period of 1995 to 2005, Peterson found that the adoption of competition laws has a positive impact on the GDP per capita and on the rate of economic growth. There are a lot more studies that can be dug out from the literature shelves, but the findings are more or less similar to those I have described. The implication is that evidence exists on the ground to suggest that competition policy and law will have a role to play in determining enterprise performance and hence economic development. It is stated that competition law does not contain a blueprint for economic development. There are therefore a lot of economies that have performed reasonably well in terms of economic development without any competition policies in place. Similarly, there are economies that have adopted competition policies and reforms for quite a long time now, but are still struggling in terms of economic development. Developing countries such as Zimbabwe are beset by a number of barriers to competition. One obstacle is that some countries have government regulations which deter firm entry, exit, and growth. For instance, in Vietnam, Although the competition law was passed in 2004, there still exist significant barriers to international trade, factor markets, and entrepreneurship. Yet another barrier is the lack of good governance and transparency. Governments are often alleged to provide extra benefits to certain companies or players at the cost of others. For example, in Mauritius, using funds from businesses for political party funding is a normal practice. Concerns have often been raised that such proximity could influence the government while framing policies aimed at the private sector, like competition policy and law. Another hindrance is the overlap of functions between the competition authority and the sector regulator. For example, the Securities Exchange Commission in Zambia also has overlapping responsibilities with the Zambia Competition Commission. Consequently, the Exchange Commission and the Competition Commission have often clashed in shared transfer cases. Lastly, price controls are a common feature in many developing countries, and in most instances, they have a huge bias towards consumers rather than producers. Such mechanisms act against the promotion of competition and investment by lowering profit levels. An extreme case is Zimbabwe, which is currently under a hyperinflationary environment. The government in the year 2007 fast-tracked a National Incomes and Prices Commission Act, which is a barrier to investment. The question then is, can the mentioned challenges be remedied? And if so, how? Yes, indeed they can. It is right that competition policy is needed by all countries, but it should be accompanied by the right preconditions and measures. If competition law and policy is to yield all the envisaged benefits, political will and consensus for reform is a necessary condition. There is also the need for a holistic approach towards competition. All the policies and sector law in the economy need to be pro-competition as well. For instance, establishing production standards, defined property rights, and consumer protection agencies would have a multiplier effect on the overall benefits expected from competition policy implementation. In summation, this video addressed the relationship between competition policy and economic development and presented supporting empirical evidence. Various institutional factors which may act as barriers towards the realization of the benefits of competition policy and law have also been discussed. The need for political willingness to fully embrace the reforms, involvement of all stakeholders in the economy, as well as extensive awareness campaigns in countries, are some of the measures that have been suggested to remedy the challenges being faced by states. In light of this, it could be concluded that the need for competition policy is indispensable. Yet to be effective, competition policy design requires careful assessment of existing conditions in the country and particular attention to the implementation process. Thank you so much for watching my video.